The grand opening sign for The Gilded Spoon was buzzing behind me, a fancy, looping font in warm neon. My wife, Chloe, was glowing under it, her arm linked with a man who was beaming like he'd just won the lottery. The place was packed. Friends, family, our parents, everyone was there to celebrate her dream coming true. My dream, too. Or so I thought. They handed me a microphone to say a few words. Chloe gave me this look, the one that said, "Please don't be awkward, just say something nice." I took a deep breath, my voice shaking just a little as I tapped the mic. "I have a toast," I said, looking right at my wife, and then at the man standing beside her. "My brother, Kevin. To the happy couple." A few people chuckled nervously. I kept going, my voice getting stronger, colder. Business partners. My mistake. It's just truly amazing what you can build with 20 years of my life savings and a whole lot of secrets. Yeah, you could have heard a pin drop. The buzzing from the neon sign suddenly sounded like a hornet's nest. Chloe's face went white. Kevin looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "Let me take you back 6 months, and I'll show you exactly how we got to that moment." Our life, on the surface, was perfect. Seriously, we were that couple. High school sweethearts, married at 24. I got a stable, boring-as-dirt job in logistics, and I was good at it. I wasn't passionate about it, but it paid the bills, and it allowed me to be passionate about one thing: Chloe. Chloe was the dreamer. She was an artist. Her medium wasn't paint or clay. It was flour, sugar, and chocolate. Her baking was on another level. For years, her dream was to open a small, chic cafe. A place with mismatched vintage chairs, the smell of fresh espresso, and a glass case filled with her creations. It was a beautiful dream, and because I loved her, it became my dream, too. For 15 years, I worked overtime. I packed my own lunch. I drove the same reliable, boring sedan until the wheels were about to fall off. Every extra dollar went into a high-yield savings account we called the Future Fund. We were saving for a house, for kids, for our life. But in the back of my mind, I always knew a chunk of it was for The Gilded Spoon. Now, let's talk about my brother, Kevin. I love my brother, but let's be real, the guy was a professional screw-up. He was one of those people who was always on the verge of something big. A crypto scheme that was going to pop. A drop-shipping business that was the next big thing. He'd get my parents all excited, borrow a few $1,000s for startup capital, and 6 months later, he'd be back on their couch, talking about his next brilliant idea. He was charming, I'll give him that. He could talk anyone into anything. I was the responsible one. He was the charismatic disaster. About a year ago, Chloe started getting serious about the cafe. She had a scrapbook filled with design ideas, a whole menu planned out. She was so full of life and excitement. It was infectious. "Babe," she said to me one night, her eyes wide and sparkling. "I think it's time. I feel it. If I don't do this now, I never will." I looked at our savings account. We'd hit a big number. It was a terrifying number to think about spending. It was a down payment on a house, a college fund, a safety net. "It's a lot of money, Chloe. It's a huge risk," I said gently. Her face fell, and right on cue, the guilt trip started. It wasn't malicious, not really. It was more emotional. "I thought you believed in me," she said, her voice small. "This is all I've ever wanted. Don't you want me to be happy?" Of course I did. What kind of monster would I be if I didn't? Her happiness was the entire point of my boring logistics job. So I caved. We had a long talk. I agreed to fund the entire venture from the Future Fund, but I had one condition. "I want to be involved in the finances," I said. "I'm a numbers guy. Let me handle the budget, the business plan. You handle the creative stuff." She agreed immediately, sealing the deal with a kiss. "You and me, babe," she said. "We're going to build an empire." That was the last time it felt like we. The first red flag popped up about a month later. I'd built this detailed spreadsheet, a budget for everything from rent to the price of organic flour. When I asked her to sit down and review it, she waved me off. "Oh, don't worry about it," she said, scrolling through pictures of countertops on her tablet. "It's all being handled." I frowned. "Handled by who?" "We're handling it, remember?" "Well, yes," she said, not looking at me. "But I decided to bring on a business partner, just for the launch. He's got incredible contacts in the restaurant world, and he's a genius with branding. He's going to help us get everything for a great price." My stomach tightened. "A partner? Who is it? Is he investing his own money?" "He wants to remain anonymous for now," she said, a little too quickly. "He's very private. And no, He's not investing money. He's investing his time and expertise. It's a sweat equity deal. I should have stopped it right there. I know that now. A secret partner who isn't putting in any cash but gets a say in how my life savings are spent? It's insane. But when I pushed back, she accused me of not trusting her, of trying to control her dream. It was our first really big fight about the cafe. And like a coward, I backed down. I told myself I was being a supportive husband. I wasn't. I was being a doormat. Around the same time, my brother Kevin started acting different. He was suddenly always busy. He wasn't hitting my parents up for money. He was wearing new clothes. When I asked him what was up, he got all mysterious. Just consulting for a new hospitality startup, he said, puffing out his chest. Can't really talk about it. NDA, you know. Kevin didn't know what an NDA was. The guy thought an IRA was a type of beer. I was just happy he was seemingly getting his life together, so I didn't question it. One afternoon, he came over while Chloe and I were talking about espresso machines. You have to go with the La Marzocco, Kevin said, leaning against the counter like he was a coffee connoisseur. Anything else, and you're telling your customers you don't care. It's all about brand perception. I stared at him. Chloe nodded enthusiastically. See? That's exactly what my partner said. I remember thinking, wow, that's a weird coincidence. I even joked about it. What? Is your secret partner Kevin or something? Chloe laughed. A high, brittle sound. Oh my God, could you imagine? No, babe. Don't be silly. The budget started to swell. Every week, there was a new, non-negotiable expense, courtesy of the ghost partner. My partner says we have to have hand-thrown ceramic mugs from that artist in Oregon. It's part of the brand. Or, my partner just secured a deal on vintage French linens for the tables. We have to pay for them by Friday. I was transferring thousands of dollars out of our savings every week. I felt sick every time I did it. I felt like I was hemorrhaging money into a black hole. Chloe, I have to meet this guy. I finally said, after a transfer for $10,000 for reclaimed barnwood. I'm the one paying for all this. I have a right to meet the man who's spending all my money. She exploded. It was a full-on meltdown. Tears, yelling, the works. I knew it. I knew you didn't believe in me. You just want to control everything. He's a professional. You're a logistics guy? What do you know about building a brand? She made me feel so small. So uncultured and stupid. Like my practical concerns were an insult to her artistic vision. The fight ended with her sleeping in the guest room. The next morning, I apologized. I actually apologized for wanting to know where my own money was going. I can't even explain the logic. It was just, I loved her so much, and I thought the only way to keep that love was to just shut up and keep signing the checks. The breaking point came 2 weeks before the grand opening. I was on our online banking portal, about to transfer the final, massive chunk of cash for payroll and last-minute inventory. The future fund was almost empty. Looking at the balance made me feel dizzy. 15 years of my life, gone in a few months. Just to distract myself, I started looking through the transaction history. And then I saw something weird. It was a small, recurring payment of a few $100s, sent to a numbered company I didn't recognize. It had been happening for months. I clicked on the details. The payment reference was consulting fee. It was probably nothing. A vendor for the cafe. But something about it gnawed at me. Why a numbered company? Why was it so vague? My heart started pounding. I opened a new tab and searched for the provincial corporate registry. I paid the $7 fee to pull the company's registration documents. I downloaded the PDF, my hands trembling. I scrolled down to the section that listed the company director. And there it was. Kevin, my brother. It took me a second to process. He wasn't just consulting. Chloe was paying him. She was paying my brother, with my money, to be her secret business partner. All the lies, the secrecy, it was all to hide him from me. The guy I had bailed out of trouble his entire life. I felt a surge of pure, hot rage. I was ready to confront her right then and there. I stood up from my desk, my blood roaring in my ears. But then, another thought hit me. A colder, more terrifying thought. Why all the secrecy? Why lie so elaborately? If she had just told me up front that she wanted to give Kevin a job, a chance to prove himself, I probably would have said yes. I was a sucker for helping him. The deception didn't make sense. Unless there was more to it. Our home office had a shared desktop computer. We were both logged in all the time. I never, ever snooped. It just wasn't who I was. But in that moment, I wasn't that person anymore. I opened her email. I typed Kevin's name into the search bar. Hundreds of emails popped up. The subject lines told a story: cafe budgets, vendor lists, grand opening plan. I clicked on one. It was them, back and forth, making decisions, spending my money. It was infuriating. But then I saw a folder in her email draft section. It was titled The Real Future Fund. I clicked it. It wasn't a spreadsheet. It was a Word document. A 5-year plan. It detailed how they would run the cafe together. How, after 2 years of profitability, they would expand to a second location. And then, in year 3, once the business was stable and she was financially independent, she was going to file for divorce. They had it all planned out. The document talked about selling our house, which was in both our names. It talked about her share of my retirement fund. It even had a section on alimony. But the part that broke me, the part that shattered whatever was left of my heart into a million pieces, was the nickname they used for me throughout the entire document. They called me the ATM. The ATM is getting suspicious about the budget. We need to get the final withdrawal from the ATM before he shuts us down. Once the ATM is out of the picture, we can finally be together properly. I sat there, staring at the screen, and I felt nothing. It wasn't anger anymore. It wasn't sadness. It was just a cold, hollow emptiness. The love of my life and my own brother hadn't just stolen my money. They had stolen my past, my present, and my future, and turned it all into a joke. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just started making a plan. I saved that document to a flash drive. I printed out every single incriminating email. I went back to the bank and printed out all the statements showing the transfers. I took a photo of the corporate registry document. For the next 2 weeks, I was the perfect, supportive husband. I told Chloe I was sorry for being so suspicious. I told her I couldn't wait for the grand opening and to see her dream come true. She bought it, hook, line, and sinker. She and Kevin were so arrogant, so sure they had gotten away with it, they didn't see a thing. Which brings us back to the grand opening. After I dropped that bomb in the middle of the party, the silence was deafening. My own parents were looking back and forth between me and Kevin, their faces a mask of confusion and horror. Chloe's parents just looked bewildered. Chloe finally found her voice. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, trying to laugh it off. "Are you drunk? What kind of sick joke is this?" "A joke," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "You want to see a joke?" I walked over to the little table where they had the guest book and picked up a stack of papers I had placed there earlier. I walked back to the stage and threw them at their feet. "This is a joke," I announced to the whole room. "This is a 5-year plan written by my wife and my brother on how to successfully drain my life savings, divorce me, and start a new life together. They even had a cute nickname for me. Tell them what it is, Chloe. Tell them what you called me." She just stared at me, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. Kevin, the charming screw-up, finally spoke. "Dude, you're crazy," he said, trying to sound tough. "This is insane." "Am I?" I looked at my parents. "Mom, Dad, remember all those times I bailed him out, paid his rent, covered his debts? This is how he repays me, by conspiring with my wife to steal from me." My dad, a man of few words, just stared at Kevin. I had never seen that look on his face before. It was pure, unfiltered disappointment. I turned back to Chloe. "The Gilded Spoon. It's a great name. It's all yours. So is the $500,000 of debt you're in. My lawyer, a real one, not your secret partner, will be in touch tomorrow morning to discuss the terms of my separation from you and my investment in this fraud." And with that, I dropped the microphone on the stage. The feedback screeched through the speakers, making everyone flinch. I turned around, walked through the stunned crowd, and pushed open the glass door. The little bell above it chimed cheerfully. I walked out into the cool night air, leaving the wreckage of my old life buzzing in the warm neon behind me. The aftermath was biblical. The cafe, now forever tainted by the story that ripped through our social circle, didn't last 3 months. Without the ATM to prop it up, it crumbled under the weight of its own ridiculous expenses. The La Marzocco espresso machine was the first thing to be repossessed. Our divorce was brutal, but quick. With the evidence I had, her lawyers knew they had no leg to stand on. I managed to recoup some of my losses from the liquidation of the cafe's assets and the sale of our house, but a lot of it was just gone. A very, very expensive lesson. Chloe had to move back in with her parents, broke and humiliated. Kevin was completely excommunicated from the family. My parents told him not to come back until he had paid me back every single cent. I'll never see that money. He's now working a minimum wage job, the charm finally having worn off. As for me, it's been a long road. There's a lot of pain there. A betrayal that deep leaves a scar. But standing up there that night, taking my life back in front of all those people, that was the moment I stopped being the ATM. That was the moment I got my own future back. And you can't put a price on that. So yeah, that's how I found out my wife and brother were partners in more ways than one. It was messy, but in the end, it was totally worth it. If you think this story is wild, you should subscribe and stick around. Because what I decided to do with the little bit of money I got back, well, let's just say my new dream is a lot more fun and a whole lot more profitable.